Now, please join me in welcoming to the stage Ian James Hind, the writer of Pearl, Alexander Goujon, the director of Talking Drum, Susan Schaefer, the producer of Talking Drum, Cher Obedia, the subject of From Shame to Shine, and Luke Mistruzzi, the director of Uncle Bardo. Thank you all for joining us today. It's such a pleasure having you here. Before we start, can I have you go down the line and introduce yourself and your role in your film?
I'm Luke, and that was my film that just ended the series of films. And yeah, I guess it was an independent film. So directed and animated the film.
Thank you. Cher.
Hi, Cher Obadiah, and I was the subject of Shame to Shine, and I did go to Meridian Bank to sort of help with my situation, and they do member stories, and so that's how that came about.
I am Susan. I was the producer on Talking Drum, and I came on board after Alex had this great vision for the film.
I'm Alex. I'm the director of Talking Drum.
And I'm Ian. I'm Ian Hind, and I was the screenplay writer for Pearl.
Thank you. So I want to start off with you, Luke. We just watched Uncle Bardo, and it's this really surprising and beautiful amalgamation of a lot of different mediums. It's there's stop motion, there's claymation, there's like overlaying of images, and there's also video interview. I believe the interview is shot on video. Can you talk about why you chose that to kind of reflect this dreamscape story of your uncle and how that shaped your story?
Yeah, I guess the project was supposed to be a little bit larger in scope at the beginning, and it started with interviewing my uncle. And the interview didn't quite go as I suspected it to, as they can sometimes. And so I had made the decision early on to just focus on his memories of his time within the coma that he was in, and embraced an experimental approach to making all of the imagery. And from there forward, it was just pure kind of experimentation with different ways of playing with visuals and different mediums. And the kind of main rule was not to storyboard anything and let the images form themselves. So yeah, it was as little forethought, as much just in the moment as possible with making the images.
That is so interesting. Your process is kind of shaped as it goes about. For the claymation and the stop motion specifically, did you work with someone or did you have experience as an independent filmmaker, you took it on yourself?
Yeah, I was fortunate to work as a stop motion animator for about 10 years. And that really was my real film school, was just working on these mini film sets. And so taking that formal training and then just throwing out all the rules and kind of just having fun with it after that.
I have so much admiration for stop motion, and integrating that into documentary is very interesting. So thank you. Cher, now coming to you, of course, you're the subject of this film, but you're also a filmmaker and a videographer yourself. You've had a film at our festival before. So in this film, it's a very personal story. How did you and the director, Braden, work together, and how did your approach and experience as a filmmaker shape your storytelling as a subject?
Yeah, it was different to be on the other side because generally I am the one that's shooting and directing. I will say that it helped the process go smoother because I already knew and understood what they were doing, and they were just like really professional and so fun to be around. It's difficult subject matter, but I've been doing so much speaking about it and getting it out that it doesn't hold a lot of power anymore. People always ask, is it really hard to see that in maybe like certain spots? But, you know, again, that once you're sharing, I said in there that shame requires darkness to survive, and that's so true, that once you start to speak about it, it doesn't hold power anymore. But yeah, they were at my house for about 4 days. Meridian did. I went to a lot of different banks to sort of help with this situation that I had ended up in. And I just had to be very honest with them. And they were the only ones that were having a conversation about colonial consequence, about an indigenous stream, about how pervasive this is in indigenous communities. And so, yeah, they were the only ones that were willing to have that conversation. And they asked if they could send a crew to the house that they had helped me to renovate. And so I said, absolutely, we could do that. And so, yeah, they were really wonderful. I was sad when they left. We hung out for 4 days. It took us to shoot that. Yeah.
It's so here to grade your production story on that, and your story, your personal story, you've told it through your poetry and also through film. Now when you come and watch it on the big screen and you also hear your poetry, you read it aloud, what kind of reaction do you have to your own art?
Yeah. I really encourage anyone to do what I now have learned is called narrative therapy. I naturally just wrote poetry as a way to sort of, you know, if emotions are energy and motion, and then how is that moving through you if you're just halting it? And so just naturally, I wrote poetry. And it's really wonderful to be able to get out and speak about it. And I did explain to Meridian as well that I had these loudmouth inner guides that wanted me to put this stuff in a book. And I was like, I haven't even told my family. I don't know that I want to go putting my dirt in a book. But yeah, I did end up, it just sort of kept tapping me on the shoulder, so I did it. And so it's really great today to be able to go out and not just share the difficult stuff and sort of where I was at, but then also where I was able to get to. And that really was the surprising part about opening that file folder and reading the poetry, because it was really sad. And then I was like, I just witnessed my own becoming, and that felt really powerful. And so that's where the Shame to Shine came from. Yeah, I don't mind seeing it or hearing it. Again, I do a lot of sharing about it, so I'm really proud of that little project. I'm not an author, but look at that. I am now.
Your sharing of your story is so inspiring and opening up so many doors for conversation that is very much needed. So thank you. Susan and Alex, for Talking Drum, one thing that I was really struck by was it is the musicality in your documentary. It is, of course, the theme and the subject is drumming and its healing power and its power in bringing communities together, and also allowing us to communicate with others through that. Technically, you shot that footage with the drumming circle, and then you also recorded the sound and kind of bridged that B-roll together. So Alex, could you talk more about taking that from set to the cutting room and how you ensured the sound design was accurate and reflected that musicality?
Yeah, I think the main thing that we set to do is just have performance and let that speak for itself, and not try to cut or do too many edits or too many fine-tuning to performance, because that's what it is. It's people just drumming, and sometimes it could be messy, sometimes it doesn't have to be perfect, but just alternating between different types of drumming and different aspects and different types of people doing different drumming. In that sense, we just tried to make it as accurate as possible from the live setting.
And Susan, and Alex as well, while you were in pre-production, did the idea to focus on drumming come first, or did you find one of the groups and then it kind of evolved from there, finding everyone else? How did that go about?
So I've been drumming since I was 12 years old. So that's basically how this idea came up. I just wanted to make a doc about drumming, and not so much drumming in the entertainment aspect. I feel like there's a lot of documentaries centered around that, especially with drumming. I just wanted to make a documentary that is telling that drumming is a universal language across all different cultures, all different types of people, and that it is a healing aspect for many different people of all walks of life. So that's how it came about.
As the documentary goes on, you kind of, as an audience, get to settle in and just hear them drum, and that is really impactful paired with the voiceovers. So Ian, coming to you now for Pearl, that started off this beautiful collection of shorts. It is, of course, it has many layers of metaphorical meaning. There's the pearl, there's the persimmons, there's a lot of metaphor for it. As a writer, how important was that symbolism and that kind of storytelling for you to include?
Well, if you saw at the very end, it is based on something else. So I can't take entirely credit for it. It is a medieval poem from the 14th century. And obviously, it's not a Korean poem. It was an English poem that we adapted to a Korean setting. So most of the mental energy actually went into translating that over to a new subject and trying to keep as much of the original in it as possible. But I can't take credit necessarily for the symbolism in the film.
So how was the process of adapting it from what I presume was already difficult English language to Korean?
Very. That's it was a very long process to do so. We fixated first on an English script, making it so that it would be understandable from my perspective first, and then that's when we started moving into making sure the idioms work. Some of the giveaways are actually more difficult, more easy to see in Korean. Actually, the jeweler calls the pearl "uri jinju" throughout the film, which is actually something that you only say when you're talking about another person, not talking about an object. In English, you can say "my pearl," and it would be my daughter, or it could be an actual pearl. When you say it in Korean, it's quite clear right immediately, and we couldn't really get around that because it's just a function of the language.
So working with the director Alice on it, who couldn't be here today, but it was very much a collaborative process from what I know. How was it making it into an animated film further on? Did that add a layer?
An unimaginable layer. It is our first animation. We've done animation before in documentaries, but never a full short, a short animation like this before. We owe a lot to Team Nancho and our producer, Jace O, who really made sure that they ran us through it to make sure that we, by the end of it, understood how animations are made and how how to direct it in a way that's meaningful. And when we wrote the script, really a lot of it was just two people standing and looking at each other, and the animators were telling us, no, that's not, animation has to have interesting things happening in it, so.
It's the transitions, especially between the shots, are so seamless and really integrated into it. So that's what I really admired. We do have time for one or two audience questions, so I do want to open it up. If anyone has a question, can you raise your hand and speak loudly, and I'll repeat it for our attendees. Any questions from the audience? Yes.
I think the former. You definitely hit on it. Like you answered it with a much better answer than I would have given. It wasn't very difficult to translate it from a Christian background to a Buddhist background because it was very much talking about. The original poem was talking about consolation in faith, and the problem in the poem is that the jeweler doesn't feel that the consolation is making this very much easier for him. He does seem to get halfway there. He seems to have, there's some processes that go on throughout the poem, but the faith that should be, the consolation that should be there, the thing that's supposed to make it better, doesn't really do so. And he keeps seeing all these marvels, and he keeps seeing all these, he kind of is, the universe is laid out for him, and yet he doesn't seem to really care. It just doesn't track with him because the thing he really wants is the one thing he can't have.
Thank you. That is all the time we have today, but the filmmakers will be outside in the sponsor lounge and in the atrium if you do want to chat further. A reminder that these films do qualify for the Old Oak Audience Choice Award and the Fan Favorite Awards, so be sure to vote on your ballots on the way out and drop them in the ballot box. Thank you again for coming to the show, and thank you for attending this lovely Q&A. I hope you had a great time.
Thank you.